Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. I, 34 female, have a complicated relationship with my sister, 27 female. Despite the age gap, we've always been pretty close, but things have been strained over the past few years. I struggled with infertility for a long time due to a childhood illness. After many attempts and heartbreaks, my partner and I decided to adopt. We brought home our son over a year ago when he was just a few days old. It was the happiest moment of my life, but my sister wasn't supportive of the adoption. She made her opinions known very clearly, even saying some hurtful things about how adoption wasn't the same as having your own children. We went into low contact for a while after that, but eventually my sister apologized. I decided to reconnect, hoping we could move forward. Still, something hasn't felt right since then. My sister never behaves with my son the way she does with the other kids in our family. It's obvious and it hurts. She didn't even meet him until he was over 6 months old, and even then she did it begrudgingly. This past Christmas was my son's first. Our family always has a big Christmas celebration at my grandparents' house, and we all exchange gifts. My sister crochets and makes something handmade for all the kids in the extended family every year. It's kind of her thing. But she didn't make anything for my son. She had gifts for all the other kids, but nothing for him. Everyone noticed, and it was incredibly awkward. I was so hurt, and I left. Later, I ended up confronting her over the phone. We had a big fight, and she told me I couldn't tell her what to do, and that I had no right to expect anything from her. That was about 4 months ago, and we haven't spoken much since. A few weeks ago, my mom told me that my sister is pregnant. The father won't be in the picture, and my sister doesn't earn much, so she's in a tough spot. My mom is worried about her, and I get it. This isn't an easy situation for my sister. But today, my mom called me because my sister said she needs all my son's old baby items. Everything. My mom asked if I could help her out. I said no. My mom agreed with my decision, but soon after, my sister called me. She wanted to know why I refused, and I told her the truth. After everything she's done and how she's treated my son, I don't owe her any favors. She called me selfish, said I was holding a grudge, and called me a bunch of other names. Now I'm feeling restless and rather conflicted. I do not want this on my conscience. I know my sister has been horrid and deserves no sympathy, but I'm worried for the baby. Any advice? Update. My mom called me again today and asked if there was truly no way I could help my sister. She kept pushing, and during the conversation, she let it slip that this was a first grandchild, as if my son didn't count. I was so taken aback by her words that I ended up yelling at her. I told her exactly how hurtful that was, and I made it clear that I wasn't going to tolerate her disregarding my son like that, and called both of them horrible people. I'm resolute now. I'm cutting both of them off. My sister has made it obvious how she feels about my son, and now my mom is showing me how little she values him as well. It's awful, and I never wanted things to come to this, but I need to protect my child and myself from this kind of treatment. I won't keep subjecting myself and my son to people who don't see him as part of the family. I wish things were different, but I need to put my son's well-being first. I'm so sorry about your sister and your mother, OP. Your son and you are way better off without them, and I'm glad you've decided to cut both of them out of your life. They've both failed at being your family, so they're not even qualified to be your son's family to start with. Knowing your struggles with infertility, how can they not support your decision to adopt? And how can they make things harder for you and your son? Family isn't just by blood alone, but unfortunately, your sister and mother don't understand this. I hope they come to their senses and change because the break in this relationship is totally their fault. Story 2. I, 25 male, was in a bad relationship. New girl, 24 female, was a friend for a while, and we started to get close and became great friends. It turned out to be more than friends. Ex and I decided to split and moved out, and me and the new girl got together, and she's been living here free for over half a year. Now, it is quick, I know, but she's been living here for the past 6 months in my ex's and I's old place. It was my place officially, but we got it together, so I gotta keep it. But damn, it's too expensive even after a 40-hour working week on a decent wage. New girl will not commit and live here. She has her own place, a house chair, where she could easily find someone to take her room, as there's people posting ads looking for rooms all the time. She eats here, sleeps here, showers here. She's here when I'm at work and when I'm not. She has keys and most of her belongings here and parks her car here. Up until now, I haven't minded. But I have mentioned funds, mentioned chipping in, which she said she will but hasn't. Now, it's got to the point where I've outright said, why don't you move in? You live here full-time anyways. Except you don't pay, etc. She said it wouldn't be right. She would feel like she was moving into my flat, not that it would be our flat. I explained that she is living here. It is our flat. She just needs to be fair and pay her way. But she doesn't seem to want to compromise or be fair. On top of that, when we first started getting intimate, she was still talking to another guy, who she had been with, who has a girlfriend. He lives far away though, but intends on moving here eventually. He doesn't use social media, I've checked. So I can't see if he's moved up here yet, but I shamefully checked her Facebook and didn't see much. She had messaged him when we started getting real serious, saying she needed a break and space. Not that she wanted nothing to do with him. As well as this, she religiously and multiple times daily checked his girlfriend's Facebook. That's all I really saw before I realized the wrong I was doing. What the F is up? OP, your girlfriend doesn't want to share the rent even though she's technically living with you because she has her own place that she's paying for. Like you suggested to her, how about you get a roommate for yourself to share your rent? If that's possible, and if it's not, then I think it's time you move out of the apartment if the rent is too much for you to handle. About her and the other guy, it seems like there might still be something going on between them. But without an actual proof, I think you can still give your girlfriend the benefit of the doubt here. But if you do find proof that there's something going on between her and the guy, then I would say cut your losses and say goodbye. Now for some comments. There are two different things going on here, your housing situation and your love life. Housing, you need to get a roommate to share the rent, etc. The woman you are seeing said no, so take out an ad and find one. Love life, from what you have shared, it seems less a relationship and more a convenience. My 2 cents. When you break up, give yourself time after the breakup. And don't move in girlfriends or F-buddies until you have a clear understanding of the relationship. You moved too fast and now you're paying a price. So take a breath and reset. Good luck. Start looking for your own place. Number 1, since your girlfriend was a friend first, you may know how she was with her exes. Was she at all flaky, non-committal, or serial dater type? Number 2, it's understandable to not want to live in your ex's old apartment, but has she suggested finding a new place together? Has she even offered anything to help out financially? If you answered yes to either of those questions, find your own place. I would also suggest downgrading this girl from girlfriend to F-buddy. If she's with you just to bide her time until she can get with someone else, she ain't worth girlfriend status or rent money. She's not living with you. If she didn't have her own place and she was at your place all the time, then yes, she would be living there. But she doesn't need to pay for both places. You want her to be fair and pay her way if she's living in your place. But again, she's not. She has a place. She is resisting committing to a relationship. I think you got that right. As suggested, you can get a roommate to share your rent. Stay with this girl at her place and once in a while at your place if it works out better. You're dating. Oh, and take back the keys. You've done everything you can to make your home feel like it could be her home, but she hasn't given up her own place. And now she feels comfortable in 2 places instead of 1. That's still not a commitment. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for wanting to keep my daughter home from school after her teacher died? My daughter Sadie is in 2nd grade and is 7 years old. Over this past weekend, her teacher passed away from a heart attack very suddenly. They asked parents to wait after drop-off on Monday and told us in the auditorium, and gave us the option of telling our kids ourselves or being told as a class. My wife, who was doing drop-off, opted to let my daughter stay and be told the class, which I don't agree with. When she called and told me what happened, I insisted she go back and pick Sadie up and bring her home. I kept my daughter home Monday and yesterday. Before bed, my wife mentioned bringing Sadie to school tomorrow, and I put my foot down. This is a serious traumatic event and we should deal with it as a family. Her school is very secular and I don't want her exposed to confused conversations from other 7-year-olds and teachers who can't say anything religious about death and what happens when you die. I think we should keep Sadie home this week until it blows over at school. Another reason I'm worried is that her teacher was about the same age as my and my wife's parents. And I don't want her to get any ideas about her grandparents dying. Her teacher was overweight and not as fit as my parents and my wife's dad, though her mom is overweight. So I don't want her to think they're just going to drop dead too. My wife thinks she should be with her classmates and said the handouts from the school said that would be better for the kids. But it also says they won't be discussing religious topics like heaven and hell, and that they will be sticking to a normal routine unless a kid asks for counseling. I think we're better off just keeping her away from this mess and teaching her what our family believes. My wife thinks it's cruel because Sadie wants to go back and be with her friends, but I don't want to let a 7-year-old call the shots. My wife also had plans this week, but it's nothing important that she can't reschedule for something this important. Am I the a-hole for keeping her home this week? Now for some comments. News flash. Your parents and you are going to die someday. Do you want to teach your daughter that the way to handle that is to isolate herself? She's going to have questions about this no matter where you let her go. And you have the opportunity to manage this event in an age-appropriate, teaching moment kind of way. Your wife is right, and you're being myopic. You're the a-hole. You are the a-hole. Your kid wants to go to school to learn and see her friends. You're the one making the bigger deal about this and possibly will make it worse. Teach her what you believe at home after school. Talk to her about death. It's not something to be avoided. Your kid isn't calling the shots. You need to let your kids guide you to what's right for them. You also sound really judgmental. My wife had plans, but it's nothing important. My family is healthy, except my wife's mom, who's overweight. I don't want to let a 7-year-old call the shots. You're the a-hole 1000%. Your kid has a chance to work through this healthily in a safe environment where she feels comfortable, her school, with her friends. You're denying her that because you would rather indoctrinate her than allow her to process a traumatic event positively. She's 7. I'm pretty sure you are pulling her out of school for a week to yell at her about heaven and hell. That is not going to help her in any shape, form, or fashion. Also, you're the a-hole for being a dick about your wife's commitments. I would ask what gives you the right to rearrange her schedule without her consent. But I'm picking up a strong, the Bible says I'm the head of my household vibe here. You're the a-hole. Did I say that already? You're the a-hole.